Thanks for coming and joining us for another episode of Ask Ed. I've got some questions for Ed today. Good morning, Ed.
Good morning.
Good to have you here again.
Oh, good day.
This is good. Thanks for inviting us into your office. This is good.
Thank you.
I think people like to understand what it was like to be involved in racing, like in the 50s in Ohio. What was that like? So let me start with that. Ed, where were you racing in Ohio?
Actually, I was born real close in the country there a little bit, but I lived in a town, 150 people. It was called Melbourne.
Melbourne. Okay.
Yeah, it was on the railroad tracks.
Okay.
That was halfway between New York City and Chicago.
Huh.
And then there was a town about 5 miles away and a town about 7 miles away. One of them was Bryan. That was the capital of the county seat.
Okay.
And the other one was Edgerton.
Right.
And I went to school in Edgerton. For 12 years of school. High school, grade school, and everything else. And so basically I went to Edgerton school. And then halfway between us and another town there along the railroad tracks, they become a guy that was a concrete company, ready-mix people, and they made a dirt track.
Oh.
It was Bryan's Speedway.
Okay.
They actually had a restaurant there that you could go there and eat, and quite a few people did that, kind of a nightclub thing, but they had a dirt track there. Nice bleachers in it, and as I remember, there was a lot of, around the thing they had railroad ties stacked up all around the thing for a guard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not necessarily a fence like they do nowadays.
Right.
And then they raised 32 Fords and 40 Fords and old cars, and maybe a Hudson once in a while, and a Dodge. There's some Dodge 6-cylinders that stayed right up with the Flathead.
Wow, it really?
Yeah, they did.
Okay, so what about some things like DeSotos and Mercuries and things like that?
Oh, that was an expensive car. It was too heavy of a car.
Okay.
It kept down to a coupe or sedan or something. And I don't know. The neighbors over there had a little town of 150 people. There's Melbourne.
Yeah.
And probably down in town there was a guy had barns, and they grew up and the old man had a dirt track car.
Okay.
So we were down there messing around with them and knocking the rivets out of a Buick wheel and welding the Buick wheel and the Flathead Ford wide spoke thing and putting 820 on the right side and a little skinny tire on the left side to get them to go around the corner. There was not much to doing about weight jacks and things like this that we're concerned with today.
Okay.
But it's just, and they drug them down under the trailer that probably today you wouldn't haul garbage to the dump. But anyways, they drag it down there somewhere and they drag it home, whatever you had left.
Okay.
Quite a few wrecks, but they didn't go very fast.
Yeah. So when you say he had a dirt track car, what would a dirt track car be made of? What would that be?
36 Ford.
Okay.
A 3-window coupe.
Okay.
Or even a sedan. And you cut the body all up, and I don't know how many fenders I've taken the torch and cut the fenders out and left a little bit hanging on the body, so you can put the big tires on, front fenders, and cut all the fenders, ribbed them out, and put a straight exhaust on. There was no headers those days, just a straight exhaust.
Yeah.
Once in a while, somebody had a header if he wanted to make it, and a big radiator, of course, a big radiator.
Yeah.
And it had a big hook in the dash of iron, so you hooked it the second gear and you bent the shifter up and hooked it in that hook of the dash.
Really?
Yeah. And sometimes the coupes had a big old steering wheel, like a truck steering wheel, and so you could steer it a little better than a steering wheel, and a big radiator, the whole front axle. There was no grill. It was all radiator.
Okay.
You got a big Ford truck radiator put in it. And a rear end, we got a rear ends out of a Ford 60. The Ford 60 was a motor.
Oh.
60, the little bitty motor.
Okay. I was thinking about the F-60 or whatever.
And it was a Flathead Ford. And that Ford 60 motor was a little, like a 30 horsepower or something, 1957. 37, 38s.
Yeah.
And it had a 444 gear in the back. So you go to the junkyard and trying to find that rear end out of that thing, because we didn't change the gears. We just bought a whole rear end.
Okay.
You get 444, and then those tires, you could beat everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's how you get.
Yeah. So just changing whatever. We had no money.
Right. How old would you have been?
The neighbors had no money to race this. They had no, whatever they made. And
yeah, this is when you were a teenager?
To win a mini vet paid $25.
Okay.
Something to win. But gas was cheap then.
Yeah.
I think the cheapest I ever paid for gas was 19 cents a gallon.
Yeah.
And we didn't have all these politics getting their fingers in the gas mileage then, or taxes and stuff. So gas
do what you want.
Yeah, do what you want.
Now, how old would you have been in there? Teenager?
I was probably 14, 15.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
even at 14 or 15, you're driving a car?
No, I wasn't driving.
Oh, you're just involved in.
I just had gone there, banging or hanging around them.
Okay, you're hanging out.
Listen, see what they were doing, and give them a hand once in a while. And I was pretty good at a welder and a cutting torch those days, even those.
Yeah.
We had to, again, if your car broke, you had to fix it.
Right.
We didn't have any money to take it to somebody and pay them to fix it.
Okay, so now that's a dirt circle track.
That's a circle track, yeah.
Okay, now what would you drag race with your friends? What would you do?
Drag racing, then we had grown up a little bit more, 16 now.
Okay.
And you become more friends, and you got friends with not necessarily your local friends, but maybe the neighboring towns.
Mm-hmm.
Got to know this kid over here that had something, and and then again we had some. Luckily, in this Bryan, Ohio, the county seat was 5 miles away. There's a lot of big money in there.
Okay.
Like the Ohio Art Company was there, made Etch-a-Sketch. They started in about 1900.
Really?
Yeah, I know. And that Spangler Candy Company is the largest Spangler Candy Company. They make Dum Dum Suckers, and today they make the candy canes.
Okay.
If you go to Walmart and buy candy, they make the candy canes and a lot of them, and just candy bars and stuff. So their kids had a lot of money. So they were friends of ours, because we all were friends, and we didn't care who had money and who didn't.
Right.
You just visited.
Just friends.
If they had a car, and one of the other boys there had a 40 Ford, and then we started putting names on them. You know, and some of the kids at this Spangler Candy Company, Doug Spangler, I don't know where he's at today. I'd like to get a hold of him sometime. Maybe I will.
Yeah.
But anyways, those guys would buy a new car twice a year.
Oh, wow.
So then they would buy a 58 Chevy, 348, two-door sedan, a 4-speed car.
Okay.
And a cheap car, and lowered the front a little bit. So
with a 283. No, you said
348.
Yeah, right.
348.
Right.
Yeah.
That was 58.
And one of the other ones, Dale Gushman, had a 60 El Camino. I think a big horsepower 4-barrel car, 4-speed. It was extremely fast. And it was some weird stock because he had that in an El Camino, weight per cubic inches. So we worked on that car a little bit, and a friend of mine had a 60 Chevy convertible, 335 horsepower. That was in high school now.
Wow.
At 335 horsepower, he brought 3-speed on the column, and that was a tri-power solid lifter car. 335 horse. That was a rare car.
Yeah, I'll bet.
And so we would take those to the races and help them tune them up and spark plug wires and set the timing on them and adjust the carburetor a little bit and weld some exhaust pipes on it, little cutouts with a little cap on them so we could, but not much. No, I don't think anybody had headers.
Okay.
That was this thing of the past or future, and so we all maybe 5 or 6 of us get together and Sunday morning drive up north to Lansing, Michigan to the drag races and help one another and you know, just advise one another, see which one could go the fastest and win.
Okay. So would you actually be playing with the engines themselves?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, like how they were built?
Yeah. Of course, we lived out in the country. This little town of 150 people, Melbourne, had a big front yard and a big shed in the back that used to be a sawmill. And it had doors in the front, so we could put 6 cars in the garage. Okay. And so my friends come over, and they're still friends today, and they poured concrete in the floor instead of dirt. So we were really hot rod then.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, we lived in this little town with a big front yard, and it wasn't uncommon. Sunday afternoon, the front yard looked like a car show.
Because all the friends come over and they park in the yard.
From one town, they come over to the other town, and we're all out in front, and I can beat you, and no, you can't. And out in front of our house is a little downhill with a 1-lane bridge. There's down a small hill, 1-lane bridge. So we just lined up in front of our house, and black marks all over, and second gear black marks. And so Sunday afternoon, it was drag racing.
Okay.
And somebody said something about, well, look at all those black marks. I said, well, I didn't make them all. It's all my friends. So we raced many, many times. And my dad's opinion was, well, if you beat him real bad the first time, he won't ask you to race again.
Oh, a little psychology going on there.
So then my friends was 54 Ford, stick shift, and maybe a Chevy, a Power Glide, and one would beat the other one. So maybe we took the Power Glide out of a 53 Chevy, and put a stick shift in it then. And I changed a lot of those over because I say a bolt in wasn't much at all.
Yeah.
And so then he would beat the Ford again then.
Okay.
And if he did, then some of the 54 Chevys had hydraulic lifters in them. So we'd take the lifters out, put solids in, and adjust the valves a little, and then that would go another 500 or 600 RPMs, and he could beat the Ford next weekend. So it was a lot of fun. I look back at it, had to be fun because we enjoyed life.
Yeah.
So then we got more and more drag racing, and even one of the guys had a 59 Chevy gasser, had headers on and everything, 4-speed car. Changed the rear end, and we towed that up to Lansing, Michigan again, and raced it several times one summer.
Okay.
And so I don't know what else.
Had some fun, huh?
There wasn't much dealer involved.
Okay.
We didn't have dealers. Dealers weren't into that.
Yeah.
Actually, a little story about the case beers there in town that I worked for, the Dodge dealer. He would always order taxi cabs.
Okay.
So not necessarily a light brown car, small hubcaps, a main interior, rubber floor mats.
Yep.
And of course, no radio because we put the radios in them.
Yep.
But 4-door, 2-door, so he sold those to farmers. So then the Ford dealer next door had a new convertible in the showroom. Brand new Ford convertible. I said, hey, these farmers got money. The kids have got money.
Wow.
They're in FFA, hogs and sheep and steers, and these boys, their dads got money.
Uh-huh.
So you better start selling these, your old farmer guys that buying these.
They can afford a nicer car, huh?
They're all dying. You better take advantage of these things. And so I talked to the dealer quite a bit, and I think I ordered a new car. I told him to order me a brand new car, a 2-door hardtop with a big V8 motor in it and stuff. And so then I said, I'll buy that thing. And I had some money. I look back at it, I think my classmates at school didn't think I had some money, but I always had a pocket full of change. So I guess. And so anyways, I told him, order me that car. And they wouldn't put too much money then. And so later on, I asked him, I said, did you order that car? No, he says, I changed my mind. So I think maybe a couple months later, I went and bought a brand new Chevy.
So he missed out.
And I never did buy another car. I never bought a car from him then. From the dealer I worked at. So anyways, they were older guys, but anyways, that 1960, I think 60, brand new 60 car showing, he went over to the big city and borrowed a convertible. First one we ever had in the showroom. He borrowed it from the dealer, the big dealer in Fort Wayne.
Okay.
Just to put in our showroom, and then everybody liked that car. So I think after that he got a little bit better that he better start selling new shiny cars to the young kids.
Right. Now again, you were working as a mechanic at the dealer.
At the Dodge dealer, yeah.
And for people who don't know, older people will know, but the younger people might not know, when the new car models came in, it was a big deal. Dads and their boys would get in the car and go to the nearest dealer to see the new car.
We had them hid. Kept them hid uptown in the store.
Okay.
The grocery store or something in the back of until the day of the showing. We'd brought them up there at night and had the showroom all taped off and stuff. And I remember my uncle lived on a farm down the way a little bit, and we went out in his barn and looked, and there's this dumb-looking car in his garage, 2 or 3 of them, and kind of a rear-engine car. And we looked at it, and it was kind of a simple little compact car, but we never could get the trunk up. We couldn't figure out how to get there. There was no latch to get the trunk up. And we found later was a little rubber flap just above the license plate. And we looked at that car all over, and they were hiding it in his garage. And the people who owned his farm owned the Chevrolet dealer.
Okay.
And it was Corvair.
Right. Of course it was. Yeah.
Corvair.
So what would happen is they would want to announce the day of.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so all over the country, no one would see these cars until the day
of the showing.
And then
at
everybody
8 o'clock in the morning or something.
Right.
And we called in other people to dress up to start selling them.
Okay.
Yeah, not just one salesman.
Take orders there.
Take orders and sell those cars. maybe sold one or two a day.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There wasn't an internet. There was no way to see it ahead of time. It was
No.
a surprise.
Yeah.
And to see the Corvair for the first time had to be a big deal. 'Cause
That was exciting.
an American car with a rear engine
Yeah.
was just...
And then in '55, when they come out, we went over to the dealership. We went over there, waited in line to get inside.
Yeah.
It had the tapered steering wheel.
Oh, yeah, right.
First time, the old 54 was a flat steering wheel. It had a tapered steering wheel with a horn ring.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the most gorgeous car. And then you have the little V8 emblems underneath the taillights. Oh, that had to be the most awesome car in the whole world.
Right.
So I remember
Right.
that day of the showing. It was exciting for me.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
And when I was a kid, I would drag my dad to the car dealers. Like, he wasn't dragging me, I was dragging him. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
I want to see the new cars, and we would go to the
Yeah,
showrooms. And
And the '56 Ford had a tapered steering wheel with the horn ring way back in
yeah,
there.
that deep
Nice
dish
chrome.
wheel.
Yeah, with a horn ring.
Wow.
Yeah, it was an awesome car. We didn't care about the motors that much.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah.
That's-
And they started putting chrome on them then.
Mhm.
55 had some chrome guards on them a little bit more, and more chrome in the grills and chrome around the doors.
Yep.
Windows all had chrome around them. So they were pretty cars.
As long as we're talking about you working at a dealer, you saw back in that time also there were a lot of extra dealer accessories people could buy for their cars,
Yes,
right?
they were, yeah.
Extra antennas or
Yeah,
the
yeah.
curb feelers
Yes,
and
the curb
extra
fe-
different pieces.
All kinds of options, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
people would get into all that.
I remember one of the other cars there was and we had a little heart rod shop, Hart's Automotive, down in Cecil, Ohio, was about 30 miles south of us. He had the only machine shop around that did anything that high performance.
Oh,
He could balance motors and stuff
okay.
and bore them out and do what we wanted him to do on these flathead cars. So I learned that a little bit later on. But that was before we got our driver's license and things
Yeah.
like this, we started getting into the racing and just fun things.
Yeah.
Until we moved, I was 20 years old, I quit, and me and a friend of mine came to Phoenix.
Right.
The other thing I was going to say is that I think it was the Ohio Art Company that makes Etch-a-Sketch. He had a boy. And so he bought a new car every year. I remember the 61 Chevy he brought uptown, two-door hardtop, was turquoise. And what I was excited about, the seat belts matched the interior.
Right.
Yeah, that was the most, I looked at that because my seat belts are old red seat belts I put in there for something
Yeah, right.
in my car.
Note,
Yeah.
and people who look at old classic cars will kind of figure this out, but they had so many different color interiors back then.
They were
Now
gorgeous.
we just have a couple colors, and most of the things are the same black stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, you'd have color keyed seat belts that
Yeah.
are the color of the seats and
Yeah.
all that. That was really something.
Yeah, it was some of the things,
Yeah, very
But
good.
when we came to Phoenix then, we got some, of course there was big money here and a lot of things, and right away, that's 60 cars came out, 61s with the Ram induction and the Max Wedge dot cars, and of course there was a lot more money and changed them, and that was real close to Beeline Dragway was a big deal.
Yeah.
And
So were you working as a mechanic for a Chrysler dealer here?
yes, a Dodge dealer here.
A Dodge dealer?
Yeah.
Okay.
So then-
So you're in the for all you Mopar fans, you think Ed's only a Chevy guy or a Flathead Ford guy. His roots are Chrysler Mopar style.
Yeah. I have most of the literature about the high performance stuff in the 61 cars.
Okay.
There's a lot of factory bulletins, how to make headers and change the oil pan and stuff like that.
So you mean the factory would send you documentation on how to soup up the cars?
Yes. Because the Ram Chargers are in there.
Yep.
That was that whole crew from Detroit Chrysler Corporation.
Okay.
And we were messing around then a little bit, and of course, we were at the same races, and we got to know some of those Ram Charger people.
Okay, so Ram Charger, was that kind of like
A club,
okay.
a Chrysler club,
I see.
factory club.
Yeah. Okay.
Some of the guys drove the cars and they designed them and changed different things. And one of the little short guys, I think, was the guy that had a weird car. He was their dyno man for Ram Chargers.
Okay.
And we got to know him quite well. And so we visited him every time we went to races and see what they're doing, and he'd give us tips about what they were doing. So yeah.
Okay.
It's interesting.
How long did you stay at the Dodge dealer in the early 60s? How long did you?
Well, I went to school there. I went to work on the day I got out of high school.
Okay.
I went to our hometown high school, Dodge dealer.
Okay.
And then I worked there until I came to Phoenix.
Right.
And so I worked there probably a year and a half or something in the next summer.
Okay.
Then I came to Phoenix here and stayed here for 1 year.
Okay.
I worked at Pegler's Dodge City at 16th Street in Camelback.
Okay.
That was the biggest dealer in town.
Huh.
And then I worked there for a year. Then I went back to Ohio, I went back to the same dealer.
Oh, okay.
Because I could have had a job offer before I got back there at the Buick Oldsmobile dealer and Chevy dealer.
Okay.
I could have went to there, but I figured I learned a lot from the Dodge dealer, and I owed him something.
Okay.
In a favor.
So you went and helped.
So
you went back and helped him out.
I went and helped him back out, yeah, for another 9 months.
Okay.
And at that time, so we had a good time.
And so after that, did you come back here for good?
Yes, I came back here and worked at that Dodge dealer again.
Uh-huh.
Maybe I worked at a couple Dodge dealers, and when I was 20, I worked at Valley Dodge over here in Glendale for a short while, maybe a year. And that was in 1965, 64. Then I ended up going back to Pegler's Dodge City. I was a foreman, a shop foreman.
Okay.
I was 24 years old then.
Hey, wow.
I look back at it and says, the nerve they did to hire me at 24 years old to be the shop foreman.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know. I went to, and they all respected me. I had good respect with the factory Dodge people.
Yeah.
You know, the representatives from Chrysler and Dodge.
Well, if you're a young guy, but you have experience and you know what you're talking about and you know how to treat people, it doesn't matter if you're 24, right?
Yeah, I look back at it, it was quite an opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. When did you start building engines for racing?
Maybe 64, 65.
Okay.
I was probably working, I don't know what year. I have a bill of sale where I bought that car.
Wow.
So it was shortly after that I built my own Chevy motors and started modifying them.
Okay.
And I bought my first fuel injection, Hillborn fuel injection, ordered it brand new. And when I got it here, I think it was $275 for the whole kit. It was a lot of money.
Yeah.
And it was the first one that anybody had ever seen with 2-inch stacks.
Oh.
The rest of them were all 1 7/8. So that brand new one came with 2-inch stacks, and I ran that for a long time.
So what size engine do you think that was?
That was the one we stroked.
Okay.
Took a 350 Chevy and offset around the crank.
Okay.
To a 396, now it's 377 cubic inches. And we ran some C gas with the car and some B gas, drag racing and stuff.
Okay.
And once you did that, then the other friends came around, wanted you to build their motor. Or change the camshaft in it or something, and we did a lot of that.
Okay, so there's the engine building, engine modifying part of it.
Yeah.
Now, how much of the time did you actually drive race cars of any
Drag
kind?
race?
Drive them.
Drive them.
Yeah.
The last car I drove was that 70 CUDA, 70 Challenger with a 426 Hemi.
Okay.
With the carburetors on it and nitrous oxide.
Oof. We
were playing with that. It weighed 3,300 pounds and it went 990, 134 miles an hour. That's the last car I drove.
Okay.
It was myself.
That's a fast car.
But
and what
in
year?
There in I think we started racing that 6-cylinder Ford, the Sauer 6 car, probably in 68.
Okay.
That's when I opened my shop in 68, but probably a little bit before that.
Okay.
But
that was like a Ford Falcon or something?
Ford Falcon, yeah.
Okay.
1960, and we raced that car and built the motor, and we changed the front suspension a lot. And started changing the motor and camshafts and things, and we junked that car. I think we junked it, we didn't race, and built a 64, a little 64 two-door sedan. That's the blue and white one.
Okay.
And we raced that with automatic transmission. We built the transmissions, and we raced that all around the nation then.
You're right.
And then we were points champion and world points champion then with that car.
Wow.
And at the same time, in 68, we started doing rear end work when I opened my shop and working on other people's cars. So we worked on Watley's Camaro a lot, because that was the shop most of the time. And they kind of put the motor together. We helped back and forth. And I did the transmission work and the rear end, the clutch work, and suspension work on that Watley's car.
Huh.
And it was a Watley Brothers excavating company. They had a backhoe and stuff here in town, and they was the national champions too.
Wow.
So that was exciting. And,
yeah.
And we raced all around the West Coast to all the big races: San Francisco, Kansas City, Oklahoma City, Dallas, Texas, Los Angeles, and Phoenix, and
yeah.
Denver.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's big time.
So we drove those cars all the time.
And when so the 70 Cuda, you said was the last one you raced.
That's the last one.
Was that in 1970 or was that later on?
That was probably later on, almost not too long ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you had quite a long career at driving cars too, not just building engines.
Yeah.
Okay. So we got to get these facts straight because we don't know.
I know. Yeah. Usually, all my I get older, I can't remember anything. It's always what happened to something. So I said, oh, that happened to something. What year? Okay, now I can relate that.
You have to connect it to something.
You got to connect it to something. Yeah, some event.
Right.
Yeah, or something happened.
Well, the young guys don't have that much to remember, so it's easy for them.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. I think I'm going to wrap it up here for now. So we got you started in Arizona, and we'll pick up some of these questions later and keep going. Thank you, Ed, for sharing some of your history and telling us how some of that
puts
works.
Us up to date.
Yeah, and we'll ask you more questions about LS motors and things like that soon.
Oh yeah, I don't know about that.
Okay. Hey, thanks again for watching BarryTsGarage and Ask Ed, and thank you for letting me ask Ed some of my questions today. And we'll look forward to the next episode. So we'll see you next time.